Bizarre stories from subscribers.
Hi Leo, my name is Andre and this happened recently. I was going with my parents to a colonial coffee shop here in the city. When we got there, I went to the playground to play a bit since they had several cool toys available. But when I came down the slide, a boy with a navy blue cap and somewhat torn clothes appeared. He started to chase me wherever I went, the boy would follow. So I decided to play Pokemon Go and started walking around the place, catching some Pokemon and stuff. And he wouldn't stop following me. He kept staring at me without even blinking. He looked like a psychopath. Since I had drunk a lot of grape juice, I needed to go to the bathroom to take a pee, right? So I dodged the crazy guy and went to the bathroom. When I opened the door, the boy is there inside looking at me. Then I thought he was a psychic or something because he knew I was going to the bathroom and anticipated my movements. I asked if he was done using the bathroom, but he didn't answer me. He just kept staring at me really weird. After that, I told my father what was happening, that I was being followed by this boy. He said that I was the only boy in that place and that the only children there were 2 girls. But even so, my father asked the person in charge of the place if there was any child with the characteristics I described. And the man said no. However, this account was not the first. Other people who had been there had already reported this. They had asked him the same question, and no one knew who this strange boy was who showed up there and kept bothering. Hello, how are you? My name is Davi. Today, I'm going to tell a story that happened to me. There was a day when I was talking to my friend Paulo. Then he invited me to play a video game at his house after school, right? I agreed to a game and we went to his house, which was in the same neighborhood as the school. Once we got there, we spent hours and hours playing. I didn't notice the time passing. When I looked at the time, I got a shock because it was already night. I said goodbye and left quickly. My mother must have been worried about me because I forgot to tell her. The street had few people because it was already about 10 o'clock at night, man. After about 5 minutes of walking, I entered a street that served as a shortcut, but it was dirt, without sidewalk, and had a giant wall and lots of bushes, man. When I was in the middle of it, I feel that something was on the wall, and I see an animal, similar to a wolf with very dark fur. In my desperation, I couldn't look at him much. I started running desperately, man, and I turned the corner. When I looked back, I could see that the wolf ran like a person on 2 legs. I managed to get home after a lot of running. I told my mother and she didn't believe what I said. And she even scolded me for not having said anything about going to my friend's house. The next day I passed by the same place out of curiosity, and I looked over the wall to see if there was any trace of the creature. How high was the wall it came out from? I put some stones at the base so I could climb up, right? When I look over the other side of the wall, I can't see anyone, just a small house, and to my surprise, there were several bones near the door. Everything was broken, and the most creepy part is that there were blood stains on the floor and on the door. I saw someone inside the house, a shadow, and the door started to open. I ran away from there and never went down that street again. I told my friend and he said that no one goes there because on that little road, people tend to disappear at night and they say there is a werewolf there. Hello Leo, how are you? My name is Miguel and I have a bizarre story to tell you. This happened to my father years before I was born. He worked as a waiter in a bar here in the city that closed around 1 in the morning, so he would get home around 2 o'clock. It was a time when there were few people on the street and the family was already asleep. One day he was entering the house when through the window that was in the living room door, he saw a shadow from the inside. He thought it was his father or his brother who were there in the room. So he tried to get in, but the door had jammed and wouldn't open at all. He kept turning the key back and forth, then pushed and nothing. He tried to call someone to help him. The figure looked back and immediately the door opened. When my father came home, there was no one there. All the lights were off and apparently everyone was asleep. He went to everyone's room, but they were all already snoring. To this day, he wonders who that person was who opened the door for him.
Hi Leo, my name is Natalia and I'm 11 years old and I really like your videos.
I'm gonna tell you a story that happened last year, around Halloween time. My friend came over to my house that day to play. So my mom went to the gym with her mom and we were left alone at home. We could wreak havoc and there would be no adult around to repress us. So we started the games. We had a competition to see who could decorate the most macabre pumpkin. We had to make it really scary, carving the eyes and mouth, putting a candle inside. After we finished and evaluated both of our work, we decided it was a tie. They were very similar and scary. We decided to use the pumpkin for a game that was basically using it as a mask and the other one had to hide and run away. If caught, they would have to switch and so on. Before we started, I went to the bathroom to do my business. My friend waited at the bathroom entrance. When I came out, the lights were already off and I started hiding, right, so as not to be caught off guard by her. That's when I saw her at the entrance of the room.
But there was something different about my friend.
She was taller.
How strange.
Isn't she wearing high heels? How did she grow over a meter in just a few minutes?
She seemed to be someone else.
Suddenly I see my friend coming from the kitchen telling us to start the game already. If she was in the kitchen, who is this person in front of me wearing my pumpkin mask? We looked at each other and started running to the second floor of the house and hid in my room. I locked the door and we put the bed in front to make a barrier. Whoever is wearing my pumpkin mask is not from my family. My father only gets home from work at 10 o'clock at night and my mother wouldn't play this prank on us. So whoever it was started banging on my door aggressively. With each bang, we thought they were going to knock the door down, until after a long 3 minutes. In that agony, I heard my mom's car parking. I ran to the window to warn her that there was someone inside the house. Both mothers ran to see what was going on. And when they entered the house, they said there was only a fallen pumpkin in front of my room, and that it was a mess. My mother didn't like it and thought it was a prank of ours. And we were grounded. I don't know what that thing was, but I tell you, be careful during Halloween time. It could be a person with a pumpkin mask. Show up at your house. Hello Leo, my name is Gabriel. I'm going to tell a story that I witnessed. It all started with a friend. He started liking a girl from school. Until one day they started dating. He even ignored his friends to be with his girlfriend. It all makes sense, right? I always saw the two of them laughing and happy, and I was happy for my friend for finding someone nice. But one day he invited her to go to the school rooftop. She acted strange and ran away without saying anything. He was worried because she wasn't going to school anymore. She missed 1, 2, 5 weeks a month. No sign of the girl. He would constantly go to her classroom to check, to see if she had gone to school. And the girl never showed up. He was getting really down, man. And he must have been very worried, thinking that she didn't want to be with him anymore. And asked to leave school. She had a younger brother, and her father would always take him. So he decided to muster up the courage and ask the father. That's when he found out the truth. Her father takes a picture from his wallet and asks if it was her. So he says yes, but the father says something that would totally shock him. The girl he was dating had died 4 years ago in an accident at that school. My friend was very shocked by the story, and he went to investigate with former employees, and he found out about a girl who had gone to the rooftop and was pushed by her boyfriend. Man, he was dating a ghost girl. And I witnessed all of that. After that, my friend went a little crazy, man, and he ended up leaving school. I had never seen anything like this, Leo. I hope you like my story. Hello, Leo. My name is Flavia. I live in Bahia. Well, I have a story to tell you that happened to me when I was 8 years old. I lived with my grandparents, and they are very religious, so they always woke up at 5 in the morning to do their prayers. My room was next to theirs, and that day they were doing their prayers there, and I ended up waking up, right, hearing them talk. My God, protect our family from all the forces of evil, from bad things, from the devils. Come here and save us, God, please, Jesus, be praised. Well, so far so good, until I looked towards the door of my room, which was facing my bed. Next to the door I saw a person crouched down, looking down. Since I used a mosquito net to sleep, I hadn't been able to see properly who it was. Because I was also sleepy and decided to lift my head to see better. So I strained my eyes, and there really was something crouched there. But it was a completely white, bald person, and they were not wearing clothes. It looked like a mannequin. Even scared, I went and said, "Grandma?" Even knowing it wasn't her. Then this thing raises its head and looks at me. Dude, it had no eyes, mouth, or nose. It really looked like a mannequin. It was all pale, very white. When it turned to me, I panicked. I started screaming and covering my eyes, putting the pillow on my face, afraid it would come get me, right? Then my grandparents rushed into the room wanting to know what happened. I was still screaming and crying a lot. They looked under my bed, in the bathroom, and in other rooms of the house and found nothing and no one. They told me I was dreaming, but I kept saying I was awake. But they didn't believe what I said. After that day, I was traumatized for a long time. I tried in every way to find out what it was, but I didn't have access to the internet or a cell phone. Until at 14 years old, I got my cell phone and decided to research about that creature, but I never discovered its identity. Then one day, I saw reports about a being called Slender Man, and that's when I saw a very big resemblance. Except he wasn't in a suit when he appeared in my room, he was naked. And today I keep wondering, could what visited me really be the Slender Man? One night around the year of 2016, my cousin and my aunt had to leave. They were at my house, and since they didn't have a car, my father offered to drive them home. So we went to take them. We were heading towards the car when I saw my kitten Frajola. It was eating something under the car. I alerted my father about this to get her out of there, thus avoiding an accident. But he said to let it be, that the cat was a quick creature and would run away when the car started. The noise of the engine was very loud. Then everyone agreed and we got in the car. But it was hard to start. It was an old car and sometimes that happened, as we lived on an access. The exit from our house is kind of inclined to the track, and my father let the car go down to catch in the jerk. However, right at the moment, my father released the handbrake. The car ran over the kitten's tail. We heard the scream and she ran to the backyard. We were very worried and took the people. Later, my mom went out with my dad to look for a vet and found nothing open. The next day, on a sunny morning, the little black and white cat passed away. I was very sad about what happened to her, and my dad regretted not having immediately removed the little creature from under the car. The same week, we were getting ready to go out. Then I look at the corner where the kitten used to sleep. It was kind of dark. When I focus my vision, I see her lying down sleeping. She was white as a ghost and her tail area had nothing, as if it had been ripped off. She gets up and comes to me. When I went to pick her up, she disappeared. After that, I never saw her again. I miss my little cat. Hello, Leo. My name is Matthias and I'm 10 years old. I came to tell my story. It was about 9 at night and my mom was going to make a pizza for us. but some ingredients were missing. So me, my mom, and my sister went to the market to buy what was missing. It was already a bit late, and there were few cars in the market parking lot. My sister stayed behind fixing her hair in the car mirror, and my mother and I went in ahead until after 2 minutes I see her running in. She seemed to be scared and I didn't understand anything. Until she said there was a clown following her in the parking lot. She said he appeared out of nowhere and offered her candies. She found it strange and didn't accept. My mother said the clown must be a supermarket employee and that he was like those party entertainers, you know, that establishments hire to please the public. But then the clown enters the supermarket. He was fat and had smeared makeup, with a horn in one hand and a bag of candies in the other. He looked more like a serial killer than anything else. My mother told us to hide, and we went behind a shelf until we heard him talking to the cashier.
Where's the child who came in here?
And the cashier replied that she didn't know. The clown entered the supermarket and started to look around.
Where's that child? I just want to give out candies.
Where are you, child?
My mom immediately grabbed us and we went around the corridor until we reached the exit and got out of there. When we were in the car leaving, my mom saw through the rearview mirror the clown running after the car. To this day, we haven't gone back to that place, and we always get apprehensive when we go to the market at night. My name is Camille and I'm 17 years old, but when these things happened, I was about 8 or 9 years old. I come from a somewhat dysfunctional family. When I was little, I used to see shadows in my house. This is something I don't tell anyone. To understand me, I should say that my father scared me because his family was involved with voodoo. And my father would talk to himself. I almost always saw him laughing with no one around and talking as if someone was there. That scared me a lot. I was terrified. There was a day when I don't know why I was feeling insecure. I was going to lie down to sleep because the next day I was going to have class very early, so I lay down and closed my eyes. I felt like something was watching me and then I couldn't fall asleep at all. I kept checking all the time. I had never felt this before. For a second, like a vision, I saw a black thing trying to get me. But on the other side there was something like an angel saying, "Don't touch her or you'll suffer the consequences." And I suddenly fell asleep. The next day I was at my grandmother's house, my father's mother, and I was lying in her bed. I put the sheet over my face to take a nap, but suddenly I felt a hand on my face as if it wanted to suffocate me. I couldn't remove the sheet. I kept trying to no avail. And when I finally did, there was no one there. I must point out that all this bad stuff only happened when my father was around. When my mother had enough and asked for a divorce, these bizarre things were gone, and it never happened again. As if it were a curse that was undone.
Hello, Leo. My name is Ignatius, and I am 13 years old. Thank you for choosing my story. It was 2019.
There I was in an unbearable classroom at school.
I started to strike up a conversation with my friends Kawa and Vito.
And from chat to chat, the subject of spirits came up. I, being the fool that I was, scoffed, saying that spirits didn't exist and it was all a Hollywood invention, that this stuff only existed in movies. My friend Kawan was a spiritualist, one of those sensitive people and such. He had been quiet the whole conversation since the topic was about spirits. Then he came very close to us, looked deeply at us and said, "Don't mock, you fools, or the spirits will visit you at night." Wow, for a moment I froze. It seemed like he was cursing us just because we made a little fun of the subject. We turned to each other and watched the rest of the class. I thought it was nonsense. I thought he was just trying to scare us. It was only when I got home that I started to feel a strange energy. A few hours later, I went to bed. My bed is in front of the door. I was having a lot of nightmares that night. Then suddenly, I woke up. There was a glowing white baby at the door. It looked like a lamp. The light reflected all over my door. At that moment, I was terrified. I tried to call my mother, but I couldn't. It seemed like the glowing baby made me unable to scream. I was paralyzed, sweating cold. I thought I was going to die. Then I started praying like crazy. But it's strange that I was praying out loud. And in the middle of the Lord's Prayer, the baby started talking to me.
Now you
Pray right, Ignacio? I was shitting myself with fear at that time, man. The baby said, "You're going to promise me that you won't mock spirits anymore?" Ignacio, I agreed. The baby made me promise about 3 times. He said, "Ignacio, never forget this." I went back to sleep. A lot of time passed after that, and I gathering courage to tell someone until I decided to tell my grandmother. I thought, my grandmother understands this, right? She can give me some answers. And there I went to tell. The strange thing is that she smiled as I said things. Finishing, she told me the following. "My son, don't worry. It's a spirit of light, my dear. I think even that it could be the spirit of your sister Hannah, who died as a baby before you were born. She must have been trying to save you from something. Next time you see a spirit like that, don't worry." She hugged me, got up, and went to the kitchen to have some water. I was relieved that at least I was not in danger. Today, as I was finishing this story, it came to my mind. Could it be that my friend Kawan sent me something bad because I messed around at school? And did my sister's spirit come to save me? Hello, Leo. My name is Felipe Neto, and this story was told by my foster brother. He, before being adopted, knew about a sinister story where he lived in the orphanage, and that's how it was. In the year of 1995, there was a boy named Fred who lived in an orphanage. He was found by a group of urban cleaning professionals. Fred had been thrown away by his parents for unknown reasons, and since then he had been living in an orphanage, waiting for a family who wanted to adopt him. Fred, having had no father and mother, saw the staff at the place as his own family and had affection for everyone. After seeing several children being adopted and not him, he ended up feeling sad and thinking that there was something wrong with him. Until one day a couple came to the orphanage and went to him. They talked to the boy and liked him. Fred would now have a real family. People who would be with him at any moment of his life. The Thompson couple was amazing. They seemed to be cultured and loving people. And they would be able to offer a good life for Fred. Their house looked like a palace. It was so big. Fred was very happy and also impressed with this new reality that surrounded him. Now he would have a room just for him. He wouldn't need to share with anyone else, since in the orphanage everyone was together, right? After spending a beautiful day with his new parents, they went to dinner. The butler, Senior Norton, prepared an interesting meal. Rare buffalo meat. Young Fred had never eaten such a delicacy, but he ate the dish. It was time to sleep, so he went to his room to rest. Just as he was about to fall asleep, he heard a cry for help. He got up quickly, thinking it was his parents. He looked down the hallway and saw nothing. Someone emerges from the shadows. It was the butler, Mr. Norton. He asked if everything was okay, that he heard something. He said everything was okay and that Fred's parents were sleeping. Fred let it go and went back to bed. In the following days, more cries for help were heard by Fred. He was very scared. He thought the house was haunted. He talked to his parents about it. The Thompson couple said that the sound he was hearing could be from the neighborhood, as they play loud music sometimes and end up disturbing their sleep. Until one night, going to his room, Fred passes through an area of the house hitherto unexplored by him and heard the voices asking for help again.
Now he is more convinced that something wrong is happening.
It was a door with a lock. Luckily, he had a paperclip in his pocket and started trying to pick the lock. Lo and behold, he opens it, sees a long staircase with no light. To assist him, he picks up a candelabra that's near the place and goes in. What Fred sees was not in any of his most bizarre nightmares. It seemed like he wasn't the only child who had arrived at that house. There were more than 10 skeletons tied up in that damp and dark place. It looked like a butcher shop and a bunch of cutting tools. Man, that place was crazy. Senior Norton shows up. I see that Senior Fred discovered where my pantry is. It's a shame because I didn't expect to use it so soon. What are you talking about? You're just another one of those boys that the Thompson couple adopts. You know that rare buffalo steak that you ate today? So it was the last piece of their previous son. Every 3 months they adopt a new child and so on. You're next, boy.
Are you crazy, man?
Fred runs desperately and flees from there. He heads to his parents' room to tell them what happened. However, they were already going down the stairs. He told them everything he saw in that bizarre basement and what the crazy butler was doing.
Calm down, Fred. Everything is okay. Darling, it gave me
A tremendous hunger now.
How about we dine again?
Great idea, dear. I'm crazy to eat rare buffalo meat again.
Mr. Norton, please prepare it for us, please. And dear Fred, help poor Norton. He needs a little help. Seeing all that, Fred managed to escape them, jumping out the window and managing to flee to the woods, unlike many children who were there and couldn't escape.
Bizarre stories from subscribers.
Hey Leo, I'm Sam, and today I'm going to tell a story about my grandmother. My whole family doesn't like cats, I don't know why, but from this story passed down to my mom and my aunt, I understood why. Listen up, this is the story of a man. He had a wife and a cat. Every day he would go to work and his wife would take care of the house, sweeping things, washing dishes, simple things that people do. But she also always fed the kitten with all her love. She always took care of it by giving it water, milk, food, but whenever her husband came home from work, the kitten would meow at him asking for food. This happened every time and it provoked the man's mind. And he would ask her if she had fed the cat because the bowl was empty. She would say yes, but her husband didn't believe her and they would end up arguing. This went on for a long time, a very long time. But what was wrong with the cat? The cat really seemed to be skinny, and the wife didn't understand why. One early morning, its owner was awakened by the sounds of meowing. He looked out the living room window and saw under the tree in the backyard several cats gathered, including his own cat. The man noticed what the animals were saying. It was kind of a secret animal club, dude. They were telling what they were doing in each house. One said he was tearing up the mattress's sofa and knocking down the expensive paintings in his owner's house. The other was scratching his owner's baby for fun. When it was the man's cat's turn, he said,
I'm lying to my owner. I don't eat. I throw the food in the trash and I'm getting skinny. He's getting mad at his wife. They fight every day. Owning a cat's body is very funny and fun. The man
was mad about what he found out and went back to sleep knowing what to do the next day. So when he got home from work, he had an iron cylinder in his hand. His wife saw it and hid in the corner of the room, thinking her husband was going to hit her. The cat was meowing at its owner. He said, "Calm down, kitty. I'll feed you soon." The man said this looking at his wife and heating the piece of iron in the fireplace of his house. Then the man got up with a piece of iron and hit the cat man. "Get out of my house, Satan!" And the cat ran out into the street. Man. I walk very high. So, my family has always thought that cats can be possessed by demons and plot bad things for their owners. I've tried to adopt some, man, stay at home playing with the pets. But my mom won't let me because of that stuff I told you. Hello, Leo, how are you? My name is Toshiro. One day I was going to school, and my dad told me, "Son, come home as soon as you leave school. Don't go anywhere else." And then he told a really bizarre story. There was an abandoned house in a small town. It was near a school, and there were always stories being told about this residence, that it was abandoned and haunted by evil spirits. A boy from that school said that one night as he passed by that house, he could hear someone taking a shower, but everything inside was dark. So 4 friends decided to invade this haunted house and record some videos. They would try to capture something supernatural to go viral on YouTube and prove that ghosts exist. So the next night around 12:30, the friends went to the place. They jumped a wall and arrived at the entrance of the house. In the backyard, there were pieces of bones scattered. Upon opening the door, it collapses. The hinge must have been rusty already. And inside the place, there was a lot of dust and spider webs. The house must have been empty for about 60 years. They tried to turn on the lights, but there was no power in the place. They searched the house and found nothing supernatural. If there were ghosts living there, they must have gone out for a walk. They heard the sound of drops coming from the bathroom, as if it was dripping. There was a red bathtub, somewhat wet, and the shower above it was dripping. One of the boys got into this bathtub and tried to close the valve, but instead of closing it, he opened it and the water fell on him. Everyone started laughing at the boy. He felt the water getting hotter. Wow, does this old falling apart house have hot water? I'm going to take advantage and take a shower here. It should get some views of me showering here in this haunted house, right? Laid in the bathtub and stayed. But the water just wouldn't stop getting hot. He screamed and started trying to get out, but he couldn't. His 2 friends tried to pull him out, but they also fell into the bathtub. The water started to bubble, man. The steam filled the bathroom and the girl who was recording ran out. I could hardly see anything in there. She only heard the screams of the 3 in the bathtub and ended up running away in desperation. She tried to see what was recorded on the cell phone, but it didn't work. The next morning, she went to the place to see what had happened there. The shower was still dripping, but the bathtub had no water at all. No sign of her friends. They disappeared. So she positioned her cell phone on the sink to record what she was going to do. She was very scared and opened the valve without getting into the bathtub and waited to see what would happen. The bathtub started to fill up and it began to bubble. Suddenly, a tongue comes out of the drain, wraps around the girl, and she is pulled inside. The bathtub closes like the mouth of a hungry animal and grinds the girl. After these events, and with the recovery of the cell phone, everyone was terrified by the images. And they began to say that the red bathtub would be from the Capiroto himself, and that it would just be a gateway to the underworld, sending the person directly into the lap of Sete Pele. Whatever entity is in this house, it's better we keep our distance for our own good. Hi Sarah, I'm Leo. I'm going to tell you a sinister story that happened to me when I was 4 years old. I only found out about this a few days ago and I was shocked. I was talking to my mom about my childhood and stuff, and how I used to have fun by myself. Just with my dolls in my room, I would spend hours entertained there in my little corner. But my mom said it wasn't quite like that. I wasn't alone. She said I had a friend named Veraska. I told her that I didn't remember this little friend, and I asked where she was, if she was still in the neighborhood. My mother said she lived with us, but she left. I was intrigued. Wow, what do you mean? A child lived with us and I didn't know? There wasn't even a picture of her in my childhood albums. How is that possible? So my mother said it was an imaginary friend, that I used to talk to her. I would set aside toys for us to play together. At lunchtime, I would put a plate of food out for her. I don't remember this. Well, I was very young, wasn't I? My mother said more things about Veruska. One day, my daughter, you came to me and said that you had discovered something about her.
That she had already died.
What I thought was your imaginary friend was actually a tormented soul that was there. I didn't know what to do. I remember I was paralyzed for a moment. Every time I saw you playing and talking with this Veruska, I was afraid it was true, and if it would bring any harm to us. After about 2 weeks that I knew about the appearance of this supernatural entity, you said she would leave and never come back. And as a farewell, Veruska wanted a cake. Her farewell party would be at this small park. I thanked God for her departure and made the cake, right? If that would be the condition for her to leave our house, fine. Until one day we went to the little park. We lit the candle on the cake and sang for her. I set aside a piece for you two to eat. You said that Veruska asked why I wasn't eating too. That she was sad about that. So I went and got some for myself too, right? You're not going to be sad about that, Veruska. Let's go. And we all ate. According to what you said, Veruska was happy and could live in peace forever. Until after that day, you never mentioned her again. I would ask if you had seen her at home and such. But you said she's gone and will never come back. I didn't tell you before because you might get scared, but now you're an adult and you can know about this story that happened. I hope you enjoyed it, Leo, this sinister account of my childhood.